So we're currently halfway through the second season of The Handmaid's Tale, and the show has clearly decided to incorporate religion more directly into the series. And I think this was very courageous of the show because, in contrast to the other very relevant topic related to The Handmaid's Tale, which is its feminism, which is clearly very important and very relevant, but in contrast, religion is a much more controversial topic, which is rarely approached so directly by networks and commentators alike. So today I would like to talk about the religion aspect in The Handmaid's Tale, what it means, what it's trying to convey, and we'll try to understand whether its message is anti-religion or not. To make a very fast recap as to why religion has become such an important factor into Gilead, the dystopian society in which The Handmaid's Tale is set in, we can look at the flashbacks from season 1 and season 2, which tell us that the Puritans assassinated the president and the Congress, which in turn enabled them to suspend the Constitution and establish martial law and finally create a fundamentalist Christian society known as the Republic of Gilead. In this society, women and other minorities are denied basic human rights. The few women who are fertile are re-educated in boot camps like Red Centers, where they are indoctrinated into their duty to God and country, namely that of bearing children for the elite of the government. The barren women, as the show calls them, and which are not of high-class status, aka married to a commander, are sent to the colonies, which are polluted fields in which they're forced to work, basically until they die. One of the most striking and discussed religiously inspired scenes from the series is the one where we watch the ceremony, which is the ritual through which the handmaid is literally held down by the wife of the commander while the latter rape her, basically. If the act is successful and the handmaid becomes pregnant, then we have another ritual, which is the birthing ceremony, in which the handmaid goes through labor while the wife of the commander feigns the labor herself. These are direct references into the Genesis stories of Rachel and Bilhah. Even the commander himself reads a passage from the Genesis, which is in fact true.
And when Rachel saw that she bare Jacob no children, Rachel envied her sister and said unto Jacob, give me children, or else I die.
The whole fertility infertility thing is based on the idea that if God favors it, He would open your womb.
May the Lord open.
The specific roles of the people in the show are also strongly correlated with biblical references of specific characters. The wives of the commanders were blue, which is the color representing Virgin Mary. The handmaids were red from the blood of parturition, but also to connect them in a way to the role of Mary Magdalene. Martyrs are infertile / older women who work in the household, and in the Bible the name Martha refers to the sister of Mary, which served Jesus. The naming of many objects, institutions, stores in The Handmaid's Tale are also strictly connected to names represented in the Bible, hereby reinforcing the mindset of religion imperative, which is present in every aspect of the daily life in Gilead. For example, the place in which the handmaids are trained and re-educated are called the Rachel and Leah Centers, which were the names of the two wives of Jacob, which also used their maids as surrogate mothers. The name of the state itself, Gilead, is taken from the Old Testament, where Gilead was a fertile and desirable region in Palestine. However, the Republic of Gilead in The Handmaid's Tale is the exact opposite of fertile and desirable. This is yet another example of the state trying to present their ideals as something that they're not. And that is the crucial point, the fact that what Atwood wrote and what we watch today in The Handmaid's Tale is not as much as fiction, but what she likes to call speculative fiction. Mirror images of our own world, which are distorted yet somehow very familiar. Almost everything that we see in the show is happening or has happened in the past in totalitarian or religious states or military regimes. Public executions, for example, are still legal in certain countries. In the US, the bombings of abortion clinics and the murder of doctors who perform abortions have been carried out since the 90s, with the latest killing happening in 2015 in Colorado. In an interview with the LA Times, Atwood stated that totalitarianism always has views on who shall be allowed to have babies and what shall be done with the babies. For instance, the generals in Argentina were dumping people out of airplanes, but if it was a pregnant woman, they would wait until she had the baby and then they gave the baby to somebody in their command system. And then they dumped the woman out of the airplane. Hitler stole his children, blonde ones, hoping that he could turn them into blonde Germans. It's been going on for really a long time. In 2014, Bob Jones University was accused by almost 400 people that claimed that the university had the knowledge and blamed sexual assault victims for decades. One pastor celebrated the shooting in Orlando at the Pulse nightclub, claiming that he was happy because there were 50 less pedophiles in the world. Many atrocities have been committed in religious name. And the reason why The Handmaid's Tale seem anti-religion is because it mirrors facts and situations, or just generally societies which have used and abused specific citizens and specific minorities from the past till modern days. The Handmaid's Tale does not involve, as Atwood states, any technology not already available, no imaginary gizmos, no imaginary laws, and no imaginary atrocities. Margaret Atwood started writing The Handmaid's Tale at a specific point in time where Ronald Reagan ruled the White House, and there was the rise of a specific extremist conservative phenomenon known as the moral majority. One of their most radical fights was that of trying to erase the Equal Rights Amendment, which tried to close up the divide between men and women, and that Falwell and his followers described as a, and I quote here, satanic attempt to destroy the biblical concept of the Christian home. In The Handmaid's Tale, Atwood projects and exaggerates these extremely conservative values in order to create a believable and scary modern society. One of the points which I feel many critics misinterpret of The Handmaid's Tale is that the show is actually showing us that the elite of Gilead is not truly motivated by scripture, and in fact, many of them perhaps don't even believe in the religion that they're professing. For example, the commander Fred, which June is allocated to, is one of the founding members of this society, which also banned women's literacy and women's books, for example. Yet he invites Offred to play and read and engage in many of these activities. All of this eventually leads to him bringing her to Jezebel, which is a brothel where he can have sex with his handmaids behind his wife's back. At the core of The Handmaid's Tale is the sense that these people use religion and bastardize what religion is in order to secure power.
It's not rocket science. All remaining fertile women should be collected and impregnated. By those of superior status, of course.
Talking about concubines.
I don't care what you want to call it.
The wives would never accept it.
Maybe the wife should be there for the act. It would be less of a violation. There is scriptural precedent.
So the point doesn't lie in Christianity, but rather in the forms of manipulation and blind devotion and ignorance that fundamentalist ideologies generate and further. For example, in North Korea, the Kim family created a religion known as Jewish, which I'm not even sure I'm pronouncing right, to be honest. According to this ideology, it's through subordination to a great leader that the masses can afford and achieve self-reliance. In the cases of Stalin and Hitler's success and appeal to the masses, even though that wasn't religious per se, we can see a religious thinking at work. It is within this mindset of unquestioned loyalty and devotion that we are led through authoritarian systems. And obviously, the devotion to such a system not only restricts personal freedoms, but attacks and demonizes people which do not fit in that system. And generally, this happens with people that are different, with minorities, racial minorities, gender minorities, and so forth. And the most effective way to do so and to compel the other people to treat these specific groups as an entity is exactly to treat them as that, to treat them as if they were all the same. Just yesterday, before making this video, I saw the comment which Donald Trump made about gang members, I think Mexican gang members, and kind of exploded on my Twitter feed because he called them animals, and some people were disgusted by that, and other people replied back by saying he's not talking about Mexicans period, he's talking about Mexican gang members. But it is exactly by furthering this approach of making people sound all the same and making hasty generalizations that we are led to believe eventually that these people are all the same. And that's also why each group in the Handmaid's Tale is so specifically defined. So as I said before, even their uniforms in a way are specifically defined: the martyrs, the handmaids, the wives, and so forth, because that way they cannot be picked apart. It is not about the individual anymore, it's about the group and the hate towards that specific group. Interestingly, this exact concept is exactly also what feminists have been talking about for a long time when it comes to patriarchy and the power that it has against women, which has become in a way subtle, and that makes people believe that nowadays in certain parts of our world, like in the US or specifically in the Western world, we don't need feminism anymore and that women are equal to men. In fact, the Handmaid still shows us that what is very disturbing is that there were no specific leader on top of this movement, if we want to call it that. There were no specific leader figures leading this new society.
Nothing changes instantaneously. In a gradually heating bathtub, you'd be boiled to death before you knew it.
And this shows how authoritarian regimes can happen without a specific leader figure as well. The patriarchal assumptions take over our world and our worldview and become entrenched in our society without even us realizing that they're there. Obviously, the next step is that the Republic of Gilead normalizes these processes and this mindset and this religious fundamentalism by using textbook practices, really. The most prominent ones are outlined by Malise Ruthven in Fundamentalism, The Search for Meaning. According to Ruthven, the features that link together the family of fundamentalist movements include an opposition to the Enlightenment, a staunch defense of the patriarchy, the politicization of religion, an association of religion with nationalism, a rejection of religious pluralism, and the literalist interpretation of holy texts. The politicization of religion in the Handmaid's Tale is evident in many scenes.
This is not valid.
It has the stamp.
No, the document is no longer recognized. You are not married.
What?
It's forbidden.
Forbidden? What does that mean?
Forbidden by the law.
What law?
The law.
So is the rejection of religion pluralism, which the show has just begun to show us in the latest episodes of season 2. How certain people needs to hide their actual beliefs to fit in this society. The series also clearly bastardizes certain passages of the Bible and just, holy texts in order to fit their agenda.
Blessed are the meek.
And blessed are those who suffer for the cause of righteousness. For theirs is the kingdom of heaven.
In terms of the association of nationalism with religion, the subtle flavor of patriotism is often communicated to the Handmaids as if their sacrifice is for the land and for securing humans' future, and therefore they should be very proud of their role.
They will love you for the blessing only you can provide.
This is very similar to discourses made to and from soldiers going to war. It isn't surprising then that June refers to herself and her handmaids colleagues as an army.
It's their own fault. They should have never given us uniforms if they didn't want us to be an army.
They question whether the Handmaid's Tale aimed to be against religion and Christianity in particular was asked to Margaret Atwood several times, and she responded by saying, "What sort of religion do you have?" I feel that by responding in that way, Atwood wanted to outline the fact that there are clear differences in the way religion is used in the book and how it's used now in the show, and that if you feel like your religion is similar to that represented and clearly bastardized by, for example, the elite of Gilead, then perhaps there's something wrong with your faith. Look at the difference of these two different scenes and how religion is used. In the season 2 premiere, the truck driver helping June escape from the Waterfords tells us to go with Gray's kid. It may seem like nothing, but this is the first religious expression that we hear by someone, which is natural, which is not forced by the regime, the totalitarian Christian state. This is someone who is religious, who is hoping for June, to help June, and that clearly fights against the religious beliefs that instead were sanctioned by the state. In comparison, the first time a soldier says "praise be" to June in a flashback, that signals something larger and definitely dangerous. That is a different way to use religion. That is a threat to her gender, to her freedom, and to her individual importance. We also see how June herself is religious when she walks through the desolation of what is left of the Boston Globe and the people that worked there and that were clearly assassinated. She decides to process her situation while at the same time giving some dignity back to those people through religion. So while for most of her time in Gilead, religion has been a mechanism and an excuse for violence and oppression, the series shows us how faith in its more moderate and normal uses can be a device for salvation as well. So while I don't believe The Handmaid's Tale is anti-religion, I feel I've read some articles in Christian magazines online which are very much against The Handmaid's Tale, and I feel like perhaps to some people The Handmaid's Tale feels so much against them because they are put, and I'm saying something very controversial here, but they're put face to face with some of the problematic elements which are undoubtedly present in the sacred texts. These problematic elements are usually disregarded by these people. I'm not talking about Christians in general. Again, hasty generalizations, not my thing. I'm talking about certain people that perhaps take this text as an all-encompassing view of the modern world while they were clearly written in a different era. For example, from chapter 2 of the Genesis onward, the Bible teaches that man was made in the image of God, while woman was made to be his helper. Conservative Christians call this concept the male headship.
Everybody answers to God.
And you answer to me.
Through both stories and laws, the Bible provides a strong endorsement of slavery. Rules for buying and selling slaves varied differently according to whether the slave was Hebrew or foreigner, male or female, and so forth. The New Testament points to childbearing as the spiritual salvation path for women to atone for Eve's original sin.
Don't you realize the opportunity you have been given?
Yes, I tried to.
You were an adulterer, a worthless slut. But God found a way to make you useful.
Since the role of women is childbearing, infertility is treated as a female issue in the Bible as it is in the Republic of Gilead.
Doesn't really matter. Waterford's probably sterile. Most of those guys are.
Sterile. That's a forbidden word. There's no such thing as a sterile man anymore. There's only women who are fruitful and women who are barren.
In the show, Glenn is called a gender traitor, and she's genitally mutilated because she dared to have a relationship with another woman, hereby losing her only point of existence, which is that of reproduction.
The accused stand charged with gender treachery in violation of Romans chapter 1, verse 26, by his word.
And do you swear by his name that the report you have submitted is the truth entirely?
Yes, I do so swear.
Then, in the name of God and his servants here on earth, the accused are hereby found guilty.
So, to conclude, I think that the Handmaid's Tale does in part criticize certain parts of the extreme religious ideologies, and to deny the fact that these issues are present in certain people's mentalities and in certain texts that would simply not be real. However, I do think the show mainly communicates how religious thinking can be used by specific people and by specific societies to enslave its population and oppress other people in order to acquire and maintain power. In this sense, The Handmaid's Tale is a reminder that the separation of church and state is essential, is crucial, especially when the religion would like to take the place of democracy. In that case, unfortunately, not even the people that believe are safe from this warped religious mindset, as The Handmaid's Tale shows us. Whew, that's it. This was my video about The Handmaid's Tale and the religious elements in it. I'm pretty positive on the fact that I will receive certain types of comments, and that's fine. I try my best to be a very respectful person in everything that I do. However, I do not like to censor myself on specific topics simply because they may appear controversial. This was a way to deconstruct something which is not easy to talk about. But, you know, let me know your opinions. Let me know what you think about this. Leave a comment below. And make sure to subscribe to this channel. I'm doing lots of videos. I have lots of videos in the making, although hold on, I broke my leg. So subscribe, because even if I have a broken leg and I'm dying inside, I still made this video. I also have a Twitter account. It's my personal Twitter account. I have not made one specifically for the channel because I already have too many social media to deal with. But if you want, you can follow me there and see more about the shows that I talk about, the movies as well. And in the latest month or so, there were so many new people subscribed to my channel, something like 200 people in 1 month. So that's huge. Thank you very much to the newcomers, and I'll see you next time.